Okay, so I want to talk about the problems that are happening with WordPress. So if you're an affiliate marketer or you work in the SEO space, you probably want to pay attention to this. And when I shared some of the news, I had someone on LinkedIn say, "Why does this matter to me?" Well, the reason why it matters is that you could be using plugins that at any moment could be taken over by Automatic. So Automatic is, I believe, the parent company of WordPress, and there's two ecosystems at play. WordPress.org, which is kind of like the free open source everything of WordPress, including where you can have plugins, you can create a plugin, host it on WordPress.org, and then you have everything else on the .com side, so that's WordPress.com, which is where Automatic makes all their money. So to be honest, I've looked at WordPress.com in the past, and I would never recommend anyone use it for one reason only. It's an easy one-click solution, but it's going to cost you about 2 to 5 times more money than to do it on your own. So you could use like a host like Namecheap, for example, buy a domain. The hosting packages would be really cheap, and then you're up and running with basically a one-click installation of WordPress. But there's a bit of beef happening between WP Engine and WordPress, which up until 2 weeks ago looked like it was an isolated problem, but I think it's actually going to become much worse. So I'm going to go and just quickly summarize what happened a few weeks ago. So there's a lawsuit between WP Engine and Automatic. That's Automatic with two T's in the Matic part. The parent company of WordPress involves claims of unfair competition, trade secret misappropriation, and breach of contract. WP Engine alleges that Automatic improperly accessed and used confidential customer information and trade secrets to gain a competitive advantage in the web hosting market. This dispute highlights the tensions between the two companies, which are both key players in the WordPress ecosystem, as they're trying to compete for this kind of elusive number one positioning. Well, it gets even worse as basically in the last 24 hours, one of or not Automatic's, one of WP's Engine's plugins, which is called Advanced Custom Fields. It's an amazing plugin. It supposedly had over 2 million active installs. Well, that was fully taken over by Automatic in a pretty brutal way. They took over the plugin. They basically gave up a reason of why the plugin was taken over. They said something to do with security. But from what I've read online is that they've basically kind of pushed a security problem through. I could be mistaken, but this is what I've read on X. And or they just basically said, "Hey, we found a technical security violation or some sort of problem," and then they basically said they've locked it out, and they basically locked out all the developers from the WP Engine company and said this is theirs, and then they created a clone of the existing one and pushed it over to a different name. The problem with this is that ACF is what it's short for Advanced Custom Fields, has like 2 million reviews. So they've hijacked everything and they're actually using the ACF logos and everything. So they didn't fully clean everything over, which I personally think is a problem because it just makes me think that there's going to be another lawsuit happening in the works. And then there was another one that happened recently, and I'm just going to go look it up, which is WP Fusion. And this is another really bad one. So Jack Arturo from Very Good Plugins sent a cease and desist letter to Automatic and WordPress.com for unauthorized use of WP Fusion trademark. Basically, it looks like they copied the same thing. They copied the WP Fusion, and then they're now distributing it as their own with a new name called WP Fusion Lite. I mean, it just sounds like theft to me. So again, why does this matter if you're an affiliate marketer or you do anything in the SEO space? I mean, WordPress is the number one ecosystem. It looks like about 159 people have left WordPress in the last 2 weeks, and that number could be climbing. Every time you see stories like this, it should make you concerned on every side of the fence. If you're someone who uses WordPress, you have to think that, well, who's going to be supporting WordPress in the future? Like all these developers that have been working for the company for years are now gone. Anyone who builds plugins, what incentive do they have to stick around and just kind of say, "Hey, I'm going to keep building or investing in this plugin"? You're going to think that, "Hey, I could be the next person." And what if, Automatic says, "Hey, well, we won't do this to you unless you do something for us, which is like pay us money, or it doesn't matter. I mean, the whole idea with WordPress is that it's supposed to be like this open source ecosystem. Sure, it has a for-profit entity of it, but technically anyone could, from my understanding, fork a copy of WordPress over and say, hey, we're just going to run it on themselves. I actually think that might happen. I actually think there's going to be companies that will get together and say, hey, you know what? WordPress can be better, and we need this open source community to keep supporting it, where we don't have one person, which to my knowledge is, I'm probably going to butcher the name, Matt Mullenweg. Um, Basically, he's kind of pulling all the strings. I mean, on X, his username is Photomat. So yeah, it is Matt Mullenweg. I mean, this guy just looks like he's unhinged. So I mean, I'm glad I don't have too many remaining sites using WordPress, but it kind of saddens me that I was actually contemplating building a WordPress plugin. So if you're in the WordPress theme or plugin space, I'd be a little nervous. If you use WordPress, I'd be a little nervous. I don't think these ecosystems are going to go offline anytime soon, but I get the feeling that all developers of WordPress plugins, they're going to know about what's happening in the background, and it's going to make them nervous, and it will make them think twice about building more features for their plugin, knowing that it could be pulled at any point in time or hijacked, really. And yeah, it's like, why would you want to invest, your time into building software on a platform that just is now going to be lacking stability from here on in? So use WordPress at your own risk. And for me personally, I'm just glad that I never had all my eggs in a single basket. I use them for smaller websites where it's just like, look, it's a super easy CMS to get up and running. But I think this is going to push more people over away from WordPress, and the only thing we can do is just kind of watch and see. But I think every affiliate marketer should know about this, because you might be using a WordPress plugin that at any moment could be taken over by Automatic. And how do you know you're going to get the support? Um, and how do you know they're not just going to shut down that plugin? Nobody knows at this point.